Good morning, everybody. How we doing? Morning, Big Les. Big Les, good name. Good morning, in my case, almost midnight. Blimey. Morning, Alex. Morning, Eric. Morning, Diamond. Morning, David. Morning, Danny. Morning, Kennelly. How we all doing? Welcome back. God, it seems like I've been away for ages. It's only 2 days. How we all doing? Morning, Impulse G. Impulse G. Good name. Yen pair's not cooperating lately. I haven't had a look at anything. I need to go through everything today because I need to just basically get myself back up to speed. It's horrible having 2 days off. Yen pairs don't seem to be too bad. Swiss yen is. Swiss franc is on a mission at the moment. That's the main drawdown problem at the moment is related to the Swissy, but we'll have a look at that in a minute. Morning, Tom. Morning, Guido. Who shot first? Morning, China. Morning, Sandeep. Morning, John. Right. Just a quick catch up on the news this morning. Morning, Henrik Cass. Morning, Steve. Quick catch up on the news. I've had a scan through this morning of every piece of news from Friday. The main thing is to do with inflation for the US. So the US say they will be down to 2% inflation by 2025. Not saying when in 2025, but at some point in 2025. So they're on target because they're dropping quite nicely. Europe have said that they are going to increase their rates definitely next week. Next week? Is it next week or is it this week? Next week, isn't it? So they're going to increase their rates next week. 0.5 is on the table. So that came out this morning as well. Vilroy, there is still no clear convergent signs of change in underlying inflation. And ECB rate hike of 50 basis points next week is not ruled out. So we're going to get 0.25%, possibly 0.5%. So again, more bullish euro and more bullish Swiss. Bank of Japan, if wages, this is interesting because this will be the first interest rate rise we've had for years on the yen if it happens. But Ueda has said basically if wages and inflation grow faster than predicted, the Bank of Japan will tighten monetary policy by hiking interest rates, for example. Not saying they're definitely going to, but that would be a big one if they increase their interest rates because they just haven't done it for ages. So inflation will probably come down towards 2% by the end of 2024. Likely at the inflation peak today. So euro inflation, we know, is at 6.9, came down by 1.6 quarter on quarter. So they are the fastest deflationary country out there at the moment, which takes their pressure off of interest rate rises. They've said they're going to go up by another 0.5% stroke 0.25% next week. That might well be it. I think that's probably enough for them to get on top of inflation. So we'll see what happens, but we need to wait until we get that inflation figure coming out. So that's all the news there. This week, we've got the consumer confidence for the US this afternoon. Tomorrow, we've got CPI figures for the Aussie coming out overnight. Then we've got GDP at 1:30 on Thursday for the US and the unemployment claims. We've got the Bank of Japan outlook on Friday. So this is the main thing that I want to sort of focus on this week, and what the hell's going on with the yen. So they may well have some more indications of increasing interest rates in there. If that happens, we might see some decent yen strength coming through. So we'll see what happens there. So that's an important one. Normally that comes out around about sort of 3:30 to 4:30 in the morning. So we'll see what happens there. We've got CPI for the euro, press conference for the yen, and then we got GDP for the CAD and unemployment, PCE on Friday. So there's nothing dramatic this week. Lots of news, but that yen on Friday is probably the biggest bit of news we've got coming out. Then next week, we've got a bank holiday again on Monday. So I'm not here next Monday. We've got the Aussie rates and the Fed rates next week. and the euro rates next week as well. Is that all we've got rates wise? Yeah. So there's 3 rates coming out next week. So next week is the big one. We're going to see some big movement next week. It's end of month. This month, obviously, this week rather. January, February, March, beginning quarter. So yes, end of month. So we might see some decent movement at the end of this week as well. So it's going to be a big week, I think. A lot of these moves we've got in at the moment, I think are probably going to get undone this week. The DAX has got a gap down this morning. So there's potential for a quick run up to fill that gap. We'll see what happens with that one this morning. I'm going to have a quick look at oil. I'm going to run through everything, though. I want to go through all the pairs this morning just to get myself reacquainted with everything. Morning, Gabor. Morning, Virginia. Morning, PM. Stevie. Morning, Outro. Morning, Dreska. Morning. How's everybody doing? So, just going to wait for the DAX to open. DAX seems to have stopped. No, it's still ticking. Very light liquidity. So the other thing you need to be aware of this week as well is it is earnings fortnight. So we are on the 24th now. So last week we had the news sort of kicked off. We had Tesla last week. We had IBM last week. We've got big earnings all week this week. So today is not so big. We've got Coca-Cola pre-market, and then we've got First Republic aftermarket. It all kicks off really tomorrow. Lots of big players in there: Pepsi, Spotify, McDonald's, Verizon, Google, etc., Microsoft, etc., etc. We've got CME, we've got Facebook, Roku, and then on to Intel, loads. So basically this week is big for earnings. So on earnings fortnight, you get a lot of movement on the 25th today. Yeah, it's 25th today. That's right. Sorry. Yeah, no, you're quite right. I'm thinking it's Monday, 25th today. So today we've got some big movers. So basically this week we're going to have a lot of movement on the indices. So you should see some very good volatility. Not so much on the German, obviously, but on the afternoon sessions for the New York, for the NASDAQ, the Dow, and the S&P. So it all depends on what the earnings are and what the forecast on the earnings are. So if the earnings come out above forecast, we tend to get a bullish run on the index and a bullish run on the sector. If the earnings come out lower than forecast, we tend to get a bearish run on the sector and a bearish run on the index. So just bear in mind, the big players obviously are people like the Google and Microsoft, etc. So if they come out with big earnings hits, we'll get big rallies. So it's hit and miss as to which way it goes. You can never really tell. So your pre-market on the DAX, is there. Little bit of a push out the high on the pre-market. So you got that gap fill in play potentially for this morning. So we'll keep an eye on that. Quick overview of what's been going on with the set files over the last couple of days. So we took this is ADRs. So ADR is currently sitting in 5%. 1.6 closed out as a loss yesterday and 0.5% so far today. So scaling out of some of these positions. Euro CAD is the main thing that is getting hammered at the moment. This Canadian dollar seems to be incredibly weak at the moment. So was it CAD, wasn't it? Yeah. So we've got a very big, strong euro. Opening range break to the downside on the pre-market set files. So been scaling out a lot of that. That's in a bit of DD Euro CAD. So obviously EA is just scaling out of that, having to take some losses on it. The H1 sitting in 13% DD, did some drawdown control yesterday, 2.24%, closed out 1/3%, so 11 up at the moment this month. There's nothing really drastic in drawdown at all, though. Although this drawdown figure looks high, obviously this is trading every single instrument at the moment. So, but the only things really getting close to worrying about are things like CAD Swiss. That's at 2%. Pound CAD at 1.69. Everything else, depending on obviously what your drawdown threshold is for panic. Euro CAD as well, potentially. So those three, all CAD related. So this is all to do with this CAD movement. Those three are all in a little bit of drawdown, 1%. But if you look at them, things like the CAD Swiss, for example, it's not far away. I mean, there's your average on it. There's ADR. So the average is within an ADR. So we need one up day and it's done. It's out. It's closed and it's profit. So it's just a case of waiting, unfortunately, on these ones. They're just squeezing at the moment. Big drop on the DAX. Just tested the lows and rejecting down here. So there's your 5-minute opening range going in. We've got 48 seconds left on that. So that's the H1M5. Again, so that 12% drawdown, you could have 5% of that in the bank this afternoon and be sitting in 5%. So it's just pushing at the moment on these CADs. H4, that did DD control yesterday. So everything did DD control yesterday because obviously there's a bit of a squeeze going on the Canadians. So 1.3% on that. Done a tiny bit of drawdown control, sitting in 5%. So nothing to worry about there. Yeah, Swiss yen 1.28 is the only thing that's extended there. And the hedging set file, 10%, sitting in 18% drawdown. So yeah, big one there. But again, there's a few things which are a little bit stretched here. New Zealand dollar Swiss, Swiss yen, CAD Swiss. So a little bit extended on those. But again, any movement to undo this Swiss franc move, all three of those wiped off, become profit. This is going to bank sort of 3%. It's going to wipe that down to somewhere about 10%. So it's, again, just waiting for a day of movement, basically. So as you can see on this one. So the CAD's been very weak. The Swiss franc's been very strong. This is your perfect storm at the moment. As you can see, the scale out's been going on this one. Scaling out gradually on it. Bit of a whipsaw this morning. So there's your 5-minute opening range. Breakers to the upside today. I would be looking for sells somewhere up that level up there, 159.23-ish. That's well within ADR. And obviously in ADR push to the downside, 125 ADR takes out last week's low. So you've got last week's low there. That's last week's high. So these two black lines done by the new indicator are last week's levels. Morning, Thomas. Morning, Brian. Right, so we've broken back. So upside break looks like it's going for the gap fill. Trying to, anyway. Right, so let's have a look at ADRs. So there's nothing on the dailies so far today. Nothing on the weeklies. So just remind myself of news. So consumer confidence at 3. That's it. So yeah. Tricky one this afternoon because we might have a lot of volatility off of earnings, but then again, we might be waiting for some movement at 3 o'clock. Consumer confidence doesn't tend to move the market that much, so I wouldn't be too worried about that one actually today. So nothing on the weeklies. Obviously, it's only Tuesday. Monthlies, we've got a few. So we are in the last week of the month now. Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar. That's hit its monthly range. Go out a bit further. So that's April, the beginning of April. So your monthly range hit was last week, wasn't it, on that one? So that's playing out very, very nicely. Nice drop on that one. Currently got hedged on that, look. Got a buy and a sell. So that is 125. So that's nicely dropping. Swiss yen is extended as well. That's just starting to drop now. Again, these yens are very extended. A bit of strength coming through on the yen this morning based off the back of that news that UAE is saying they might increase their interest rates. What else we've got? Euro New Zealand and New Zealand Swiss. Euro New Zealand, again, big strong push up. That's just had a reverse alert on the hourly, so that one could start to come down in New Zealand dollar Swiss. Again, same thing. There's your extension. So that's the monthly range done. But obviously, don't forget these are monthly ranges and we're at the end of the month. So basically, we've done what we would expect to do. On an average month, we would expect to be here. That doesn't mean we're suddenly going to fly back in the other direction. It just means we've done what we normally do. Yeah, that one is extended beyond the monthly, Aussie New Zealand. And that one, as you can see, is the one that is coming down. Are we getting feeds dropouts? Stream acting up? Not this end. Must be something to do with YouTube. I have 0 dropped frames, so it's not mean my stream quality is good. Something to do with YouTube, I guess. Hello, my name is Ella. Back now. Seems to be working. Yeah, I don't think it's not my end. It must be YouTube's end. We lost you for 5 minutes. You'll have to go and watch the replay. I was only talking about the average weekly ranges anyway. Buffering lags. Yeah, no, it's not me. It must be YouTube. Somebody hasn't paid the electricity bill at YouTube. I'll tell you what it is. They've had bad earnings. They just don't know it yet, so they haven't managed to be able to pay the bill. That's what it is. We'll find out this afternoon. There you go. Right, looking at the bias scorecard as well. So we've got 10 on the US dollar CAD now. So that's maxed out. So COT is long. Retail are short, meaning this is a big long for the US dollar CAD at the moment. Swiss yen is extended as well. Euro yen. So all of these yen pairs, which we're seeing buys on, obviously, this is to do with the interest rates being low on the yen. However, this could well change very, very quickly. So remove their blue check mark. Wait, that's the other one. Oh, no, yeah, no, that was Twitter. Bad earnings, yeah. Down to their last billion. So, yes, a few buys and a few sells. Mainly Aussie dollar, US dollar is the big sell at the moment. That's maxed out as well. Retail are all long, so that's a big sell-off. The intradays, +6s and -6s. There's a few opportunities for retail being the opposite side to the futures market at the moment. So you've got Euro Yen, US CAD, Euro Odd. So those are all longs, and Aussie dollar, US dollar is a short. Again, those all kind of tie in with the bias scorecard as well at the moment. So keep your eyes on that. This is starting now to get to the point where we might find these actually starting to kick in. So I might have a look at maybe adjusting the direction of the EAs so they actually fit in line with these, because we are getting some good movings now. Good movings. Can't stop saying good movings. I've been listening to Phone Jacker. That's the problem. Some good moving pairs. So we might find some squeezes start to creep in now. So morning, Freeman. Right, so that's your ADRs. There's nothing really to look at there. RSIs lit up like a Christmas tree. I'm going to go through all the pairs anyway, so I might leave the RSI dashboard for the moment because I'm going to have a quick run through of every pair just to look at where everything is, look at levels, look at RSI extensions, etc. So you can see there's lots lit up on the RSI dashboard. CAD Swiss is the main thing, which is in absolute free fall at the moment. This Canadian dollar obviously linked to oil. Last USB device I connected is not recognized. I haven't connected anything. About my watch. So the oil trade hasn't quite got to that gap fill yet. Not far away. So Friday we had a little push up. So I'll be looking for a little bit more of a continuation down, 150 ADR to the downside potentially. I'm not sure it will get there today. It might do. But that's basically where your gap fill is. As soon as that gap fill is done, obviously, I think we'll probably push off. So there is still more downside on this one. Obviously, we've had a week of oil prices dropping. So the Canadian dollar has weakened, and the Swiss franc and the euro obviously has been going crazy. So all this strength that we've had in the Swiss franc, coupled with the weakness we've had in the CAD, has made this one the perfect storm. So big, strong push down. We are now, if you look at this on the daily, well, there's those labels. Text. So it's due to the break-even line. Deactivated. Okay, need to look at that. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, basically 5 days down, solid. So, you know, when we get a big drop, continuous days, we usually find there's a pullback. Occasionally you get, obviously, a squeeze. But yeah, we should get some kind of pullback starting on this, hopefully, now. So that one's massively extended. The Euro CAD is extended to the other side, obviously, the opposite flip side of the Canadian dollar. So the Canadian dollar being weak, obviously the euro is being able to push against that. Again, average well within an ADR. So just waiting for a profit take, basically. This is a beauty. So if you stick a fib on that, and look at where the 38 retracement is, which is typically a shallow retracement, you've got loads of room to the downside. The support levels here, look, that's your next support stroke resistance. So that's 50%. So there's a long drop available on this to the downside. Pound CAD as well, huge extension. So hopefully we get some strength coming through on the Canadian dollar. News-wise, we've got CAD GDP on Friday. But obviously all the US dollar news will affect the Canadian dollar as well. So yeah, Friday is the main CAD news, but obviously we'll see what happens with the US dollar this week. So there's all your RSIs. There's loads of them. So have a look through all of those for opportunities to get in. If you're not using the EA, and obviously if you're trading manually, this is what you're going to be using. So Aussie dollar Swiss, that's extended on the 4 hour to the downside. Obviously drop down, lower time frames, 5-minute reversal alert. There's your entry there. So a lot of this stuff is starting to play out with moves today. So waiting for Euro odds to bring home the bacon. What's that been up to? Yeah, so again, nicely extended. Didn't get another position on this one this morning. Why did that not take another position? Not quite. Not quite. That was just outside a third of an ADR, 2/3 of an ADR. Should have taken that. That should have been another entry this morning, but mechanical trading, that's the downfalls. It works to the pip, whereas I would have taken that as a personal human being. The EA went, nope, you're a couple of pips out, and didn't take it. Swings and roundabouts. So yeah, that's nicely extended, coming down very nicely now. Back to that propulsion gap, hourly. Got that accumulation break. Well, it didn't really break the high, but it did start the break from there. Nice propulsion gap down there. That's the best one there, that accumulation break down there. So at some point coming back down there. Right, I'm going to run through everything. So I'm going to start at the top. Aussie dollar CAD. Actually, let me just start with oil. So oil looking potentially for a continuation drop into the gap fill. So your gap fill is there. Somewhere around there, which is around 150. So we've got potential for another 30 odd pips to the downside, 1.5 ADR for the gap fill. I don't see any reason why it shouldn't do this. It's made it all the way back down to here. It's on its way there, obviously. So Once we get to there, that I think you're going to find some limits trigger, and we're going to get a good buy off of that. Nicely extended at the moment for a short as well on the hourly. So that's where I'd be looking to go with oil. With the DAX, I've already covered today's targets to the downside and to the upside. So there's still the gap fills to do on the DAX. This one specifically, obviously, there's a very little one here. Not quite sure if that's been filled or not, but that one there is definitely in play. So we have got potential movement to the downside. This is doing very, very similar price action to what you've just seen on oil, where we've had a little bit of a rally. We've sat around for 3 or 4 days. We've tried a little bit of price discovery to the upside. Can't really get any further. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days completely sideways now in a range. So if the low of that range breaks, there's a good chance we're going to run that gap. If the high of that range breaks, there's a good chance we're going to do very similar price action to what we've done, which is just stepping up gradually, which is quite typical of what the indices tend to do in a bull market. So maybe we are entering back into a bull market. But anyway, we'll see. So yeah, that gap fill is still on the cards for the DAX. So I really like it as a short still, but we'll wait and see what happens with that one. We need some movement, and obviously earnings fortnight is when we tend to get that. So we get those very big days putting in earnings fortnights when there's sector purchasing. So we could have some big ones coming this week. So we'll see what happens with the DAX. Right, so running through the Forex pairs. So Aussie dollar CAD, that one at the moment is very, very sideways. 4 hour was extended last week. So your entry was last week there. See, I've got one entry on there already. That was on your 4 hour RSI extension. If you took the 4 hour M5, you're out of that already. I'm already in the hourly from there, and that's the second position. So that's kind of sitting around break even at the moment on the Aussie dollar CAD. So your hourly initial entry was here somewhere. Probably on that. Second entry up there. Oh, sorry, no, there's my entry. Look, there. That's the entry. Second entry there. Sitting at break even at the moment. So flat at the moment. No real opportunities on Aussie dollar CAD on the 4 hour either. So totally flat. Aussie dollar Swiss. That's been pushing down. As you can see, this is a nice big downtrend at the moment. Got longs on this at the moment. Looking for a pullback basically into these propulsion gaps. It's extended on the 4 hour. Very extended on the 4 hour, as you can see. So we're down below the 20 level now. You look back to when we get extended beyond these sorts of levels, it's just before we get some kind of profit take move. And that one just went into an accumulation. Big profit take move there again. So just looking for that profit take move on this last push down. So that one there, looking for some kind of retracement, 30, 38.50, maybe even further. We could be looking at a pullback on that. So pulling back up into the 24.72 area and then looking to continue that downward movement, assuming the Swiss franc is going to continue to be strong alongside the euro, which is no reason why it shouldn't be. Hourly RSI extension to the downside as well. So I've got 2 positions on this. Average is just about an ADR. So going extended there, which is where the initial entry was. Embedded, pushed down for a couple of days. So just waiting for that pullback up into these areas. Lots of targets to the upside. We've got all these orphan targets all the way back up here as well. So, you know, these older ones that get left behind, generally they will all get filled, but it can take weeks. So we need to just wait on those. Aussie dollar yen, sideways, 4 hour sideways. So the RSI extension on the 4 hour was back here. As you can see, there's the entry, exit. So same as that one there, entry, exit. At the moment, we're just sitting sideways on these. This one's not really doing much. We are quite sideways on the Aussie dollar yen, as you can see. So it's just sort of chopping around in this area at the minute. Up, down, up and down. Right now, we're bang in the middle of that range. So perfect entries would be sort of down here somewhere. But at the moment, the yen is weak, as we know. On the hourly RSI extension, your entry was there. You can see that was the entry, exit already. So the yens, we're basically waiting for some movement on their interest rates. So if they do increase their interest rates, don't forget the yen is at negative interest rates. They're the only country still at negative interest rates, have been for years. Very, very rarely ever need to increase their interest rates because their inflation is generally very low. Their unemployment is generally very low. They're a very well-structured country economically. Coming out of the back of the pandemic, however, they've struggled. So inflation has been going up higher than anticipated, and it's at the point now where Ueda's sort of said, right, maybe we do need to do something with our interest rates. If that starts to happen, what we're going to see is interest rates gradually starting to rise as the rest of these are gradually starting to decline. So that could well put the yen on the front foot, and we see a good rally starting to happen on that yen. So we'll see what happens on it. But at the moment, as you can see, with the yen, Aussie or the yen specifically, it's been very, very sideways. But everything has been this has been sort of coming down gradually against the yen. If you look at all the other yen pairs, they're all very similar, very sideways. But more recently, we've had some weakness on it. So this could well flip so that the yen becomes a more dominant pair. But we'll wait and see what happens. There's also the chance of an intervention from the Bank of Japan, which they alluded to last week that they may well push, which is fine. Whenever we get to the point where we get continued weakness on the yen, that's when they tend to step in and go, right, we're going to pump the yen, and we get a big drop to the downside, which is why it's always really nice to be short everything against the yen, because when they intervene, you just get paid literally straight away. And it tends to be a very gradual creep against you as well. So when you go into drawdown on the yen, it tends to be quite slow, and then you get paid very, very quickly. So it's a nice pair to trade, but a lot of people don't like it because it does squeeze. So personal preference, but I mean, at the moment, I think we're going to see some strength coming through on the yen. So we will see what happens with that one. Can I use the market reverse alerts and ADR for indices? Yeah. Everything moves. Everything's got an average daily range. Everything's got structure. So yeah, no different to anything else. What impact has the balance of payments have on the yen? I don't know. You'd have to ask someone that knows about the balance of payments. Not me. I don't know. I don't pay that much attention to fundamentals. Apart from obviously the core fundamentals, I don't pay attention to the other bits and pieces. The reason I use Financial Juice is because if it's important, they tell me. If it's not important, they don't tell me. So it's just, you don't need to become an economics expert to understand the fundamentals, but I don't know. Don't know the answer to that one. Aussie New Zealand. We're getting towards a 4-hour extension on that one, coming down very, very nicely at the moment. I'm hedged on this at the moment. The sell is in profit. So hourly RSI extension is to the downside at the moment. So the sell is in profit on the Aussie dollar, New Zealand dollar, and the buy is just basically just got into today. So a little bit more of a push down into there gets me out of my sells. As we get down to there, be looking to take a second buy and then get out on the profit take move on that. So nicely extended at the moment to the downside. So it's a good looking buy opportunity. Just got into that one this morning. Aussie dollar, US dollar. 4-hour RSI extension, as you can see, is nowhere. This is totally sideways, this thing. So we literally are just going nowhere at the moment on this. So as you can see, been loads of trades taken on this on the H1 set file, just in and out, constantly milking it. If you look at the buyer scorecard for the Aussie US, at the moment, this is a massive sell, but we're not getting this strength on the US dollar by any shape that we are expecting. I can stop worrying about it. Yeah. Doesn't mean you have to stop worrying about it. If you want, there's so many things you can pay attention to in trading, and balance of payments might be one of those things that is really important. but you can't know everything. So yeah, US dollar, as you can see, hasn't had that huge strength at all that we've been expecting. So the fundamentals, when you look at the bias scorecard, these, and the reason I haven't been paying as much attention to this over the last couple of months is because basically everything has been very range bound, and everything is starting to hit terminal rates on interest. So the bias scorecard is like any other indicator out there. It is telling you what the current situation is with fundamentals. So at the moment, the US dollar is way stronger than the Canadian dollar from a fundamental point of view. What the market does is it tries to predict what is going to happen next. So when you get to terminal rates, the only thing you can do when you get to a terminal rate is come down, which weakens the currency. So the reason the bias scorecard is kind of sitting with some of these which aren't actually reacting massively strong, i.e. squeezing as we would expect them to, is because the market is just sitting here, it seems at the moment, continuously waiting for them to say, we're not going to put the interest rates up so they can dump it. It's not happening. They keep saying, oh, actually, we might do another quarter. Oh, actually, we might do another half. So we're still now talking 5.5, aren't we? So there's a good possibility for the next couple of months, the US dollar is going to push, but everything else is going to push against it because its inflation and interest rates are still going through the roof, although it is all starting to come down now. So you've got these other currencies currently being stronger than the US dollar. And obviously at the moment, we've got all this other thing with the Brazilian China thing going on where there's less money flowing in and out potentially of the US dollar. And it means basically if the US dollar stops being the world's dominant currency, it falls in line with the rest of these. And when we have rushes on safe havens and things like that, this isn't really going to be used that much, which is going to affect how gold moves as well. So yen and the Swiss will still become those two places we go to put our money when there's a time of crisis. So we've just seen the Aussie US, although it is a very strong buy at the moment, going sideways ever so slightly. We are in an up channel, but not to the extreme extent you would expect it to be. So still trading this in both directions at the moment. At some point, it will get squeezed. And that's the point where you suddenly go, right, okay. And then you start scaling out and you have to deal with it. And then you can flip to a bias on it. But at the moment, it's still completely sideways. So stuck sideways on this one. H1 stuck sideways at the moment. So there's no real opportunities. All the targets are to the upside. This little propulsion gap is just getting filled at the moment. After that, I don't think we've got any more to the downside. Oh, so there's one more down there, which has been tested once. So there's a little bit more downside. If we get an ADR hit on this today or a test at 125 on last week's low, pushing back up into there, as you can see, it's just range bound. So getting towards the lows, getting ready for a buy on that. But obviously, if you've got the RSI dash or the ADR dash, they will signal you when we're ready to start buying it. CAD Swiss. This is 1, 2, 3, 4. 4-day squeeze. Quite a solid squeeze as well. ADR on this is 43. So we had 40 put in that day, 50 put in that day, 43 put in that day, 40 there. So basically it's done virtually ADR every single day within a couple of pips. So it's an ADR, 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 ADR. So this is being squeezed badly. So a lot of money coming into the Swiss franc, a lot of money coming out of the Canadian dollar at the moment. So nice big targets to the upside on this. These aren't particularly great accumulation breaks, but they are big propulsion moves and they will get sorted out at some point. So looking at where this is potentially going, there's no real support coming up on the horizon at the moment because we've just broken down below. So the only thing you can do is come out onto the daily, and the daily we're out of the lows. So there's nothing. So it's look out below basically. No support. So just have to wait and see when we get so tired and extended that there is nobody left down here willing to buy it. And at that point, the sellers will obviously stop selling, and then the buyers will suddenly start to flow in. So we're waiting for that profit take move to start on this move that we've got going currently. So You can stick a fib on this thing whenever we get to wherever we're going, and then look for shallow, medium, deep pullback zones, which typically are the 38, 50, 61, 71 areas for your profit targets. I've got 4 positions running on this on the H1M5 set file at the moment. Average is very achievable. It's 1 ADR. So we've had these 4 days where we've had an ADR hit to the downside. Just wait for an ADR hit to the upside, get out. If you want to get out, or obviously wait for that profit take move. But whoops. Away. So yeah. So CAD Swiss still pushing hard. Extended to the downside and embedded. Look at this. So you don't often see this where we get this embedded. Thanks for the follow, whoever that was. Desiree, welcome aboard. Desiree van Hoogstraten. Good name. So yeah, very big extension to the downside. As you say, we don't really get embedded situations like this very often where we're just stuck down this low. Usually what we do is we get that bounce at some point, which obviously is the profit take move. So very, very big extension on this one. If you're not in it already, obviously it's very extended and ready to go. So the later you get in, obviously, the more profit you can make on it on the pullback. So 4-hour RSI massively extended. We're back down under the 10 level, so we're down to 8.4. Last time we were here, that's the profit take that we got. Look, so that was a 50% retracement. So 50% retracement, it's going to be somewhere around there. That one went into an accumulation drop. Again, I can't remember what happened there. Something happened with the Swiss franc there, didn't it? What was that? November. Was that the Swiss interest rate change in November last year? I think it was. So obviously that was a fundamental shift, which is why you get into a squeeze. So yeah, big strong push down, waiting for a profit take move on that one. CAD yen at the moment, 4-hour is nowhere. I've got shorts on this at the moment and a buy. So hedged on a few of these now. Basically, as obviously RSI has got extended in both directions and hasn't given us an opportunity to get out of the other trade, gets us hedged, which is a massive problem because it means that we're going to be guaranteed to make money whichever way it goes. So so this one's coming down to retest last week's low at the moment. We've got big propulsion gap targets to the downside. So obviously, hopefully what's going to happen is these sales are just going to get into profit. It's well within an ADR. So get into profit as we come down and fill these propulsion gaps. And then we'll be scaling into the longs, waiting for the profit take move on the big push down. So at the moment, is this the CAD's dropping or the yen pushing? This is the yen pushing at the moment. So CAD yen is coming down because of yen strength. So coming down to retest the lows of last week. So we see if we get a bounce there. This is a very good support. As we broke out, we tested this propulsion gap twice, and the third time bounced off of it every time. However, this time looks like we're going to run it over. So we'll be coming back down into this area, which is where I will exit. Half an ADR is 38. That is 50. So that'll be the exit on the shorts, and then scale in again to a second entry long and wait for that profit take move back to the upside. So at the moment on the hourly, it's not extended, and it's not extended on the 4-hourly. Your 4-hourly RSI extension was on Friday. So that's that one. Swiss yen, big extension to the upside. Again, in shorts on this one. Been scaling out of bits and pieces on this since the move started. So this Swiss franc has been incredibly strong. We're coming into greed now. If you look on the fear and greed index, wherever the last one was, should have been yesterday. There we go. So fear and greed index, we're in a state of greed at the moment. So in a state of greed, you would typically find the Swiss franc to be a little bit weaker. We're not seeing that at the moment, mainly because we've got all this positive news coming with the euro, with interest rate increases, etc. And obviously the Swiss gets dragged along with the euro gets dragged along with the Swiss. So the Swissy, although we're in a fear, in a greed environment at the moment, the Swiss franc is being rallied. So nothing much you can do with that one if you're in that short. So I'm in this one short at the moment on the H1M5 set file. Again, well within ADR. So just waiting for a profit take. But this is kind of very, very grindy at the moment. So what we will probably find we will need with this one will be a news event, just to drive a big, strong, like 150 ADR day or something on this. It's unlikely they're going to just tank it for no reason. So we need some news, and we haven't really got a massive amount of euro news this week. We've got CPI for Spain. That's about it. So there's nothing really to drive it from that respect. The yen we have. So we got CPI actually for the euro as well on Friday. So Friday's really the day on this one, isn't it? So we got all the yen news and we've got the euro news as well on the Friday. So we may have to wait a little bit on this. We might find that we go into a little bit of a accumulation, a little bit like we did last week. Go sideways for 4 or 5 days, waiting for them to drive that yen. But just coming out of an hourly extension up there, and 4-hour RSI extension. It's been extended on the 4-hour. I mean, that's where I got out of that trade. And then you would have got back in again somewhere here. Aussie dollar yen, ADR, that's good. So you'd be in your 4-hour from there. So you probably, if you're trading 4-hour RSI extensions, you're probably scaled in very similar to the hourlies at the moment. Aussie dollar yen, ADR. Okay, so there's our ADR hit. So we've broken last week's low, broken yesterday's low, and we're sitting now back in this propulsion gap. That's good. So continuation strength on the Aussie. So drop down M5. If you want to take this as a reversal alert, wait for the chart to update. Brian, recheck for your entry on Euro Aussie. What do you mean? Oh, retest, sorry. Yeah. So I could take a second there, yeah. So 122. Tempted to take another one on that. Six. 86. 3. I'm just going to put a sell stop. Okay. Underneath this this low on the 5-minute. So that low, basically there. I'm just putting another sell stop in there. So just taking a manual because the EA, the distancing was just out on where the EA was told to get in. So I will take that manually. I might actually get an automatic position anyway if it continues to push up this morning. We'll see. Right. Euro odd is next on the list as well anyway. So there you go. Phil, morning. I have the market reversal alert. CA, could you tell me how you set a quarter of an ADR target for the initial entry? I think I'm being dumb. It's okay. I was being dumb. All sorted. Right. Okay. There you go. That drawdown on the Swiss yen could eat my account if I took it. Only if you over leveraged. That's not in drawdown much. Look, It's the average is literally, I am a 1 hour candle away from getting out of that trade. It's 50 pips, half an ADR away from break even. That would meet your account. Unless you over leverage, obviously. But if you're over leveraging, it's because you haven't watched the bootcamp. Go watch the bootcamp. Right. Euro odd. Hourlies. There goes gold. Here it comes. I haven't seen John Wick for days. I need to get him up. There he is. Gold. So remember where we are. We're on the euros. So US dollar strength coming through. Gold's having a nice little push down. So coming back down into propulsion targets. One left at the highs. But this obviously, I might as well do the analysis on gold now. No one's asked for it. There we go. So gold targets obviously are down here for the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 3 weeks that is. But you've got a lot more to the downside, obviously. There's all this lot down here to aim for yet as well. So again, as I was saying, US dollar strength, this is just a US dollar cross. So we're waiting for that US dollar strength to come through at the moment. We just haven't been getting it. So when we break that low from 3 weeks ago and this low here, that's when I think we're probably going to see some movement start to just grind down, back down the other way. So it's going to need the Fed to talk up gold, I think, at the moment. And we're not really getting an awful lot of that. So all we keep getting from the Fed is the same old. One says one thing, the other says the other thing. So it's always mixed messages. It doesn't give the market any real directional bias or any real clues at the moment. So high inflation has become embedded in the economy. March PCE inflation is likely to moderate to 4%. So it's all a case of like stating facts that we know rather than giving any kind of forward guidance, which is why I think the market's just not interested at the moment in the US. So, but saying that, we don't know. So there's lots of downside target on this. You've also got upside targets put in place now as well. So, but that's what you get in a range. Right now, we're sort of bang in the middle of that range. So, but it looks like we're on the way down. There you go. UJ, we'll get onto that one. Morning, Lee. Any idea on the new indicator for radio MP5? Nope. Sometime this week, maybe, if I get time. Hopefully. I have been off. So I released, Najib, I released the indicator on Thursday last week. I've been off Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday on holiday, and I'm back here first thing this morning. So the answer to your question is the same as it was on Thursday. I haven't even started it. Hello, can you turn into the dark mode to keep your eyes? Can you turn into the dark mode to keep your eyes? I don't know what that means. What website am I using you for news? That's Financial Juice. And there's a link. Right, Euro odd. So Euro odd, obviously very extended at the moment. Got a couple of sales on it at the minute. Again, monthly range on Aussie dollar Swiss has just been hit. Again, massive Swiss franc strength by the looks of things. Yeah, more Swiss franc strength coming through. So yeah, Euro odd, nice extended and embedded again. So a couple of these getting embedded now. This Euro, especially on the talk of this 0.5% increase coming next week. So they haven't actually put the forecast up, have they, on the Euro? No. So we've got the forecast of 5.25 on the Fed. We've got the forecast to stay the same on the Aussie. We haven't had a forecast put in for the Euro, but that is going to be 3.75, I reckon. and then potentially of going up to 4. So 3.75, I think, will be the forecast. And more likely what we'll get, 4 will be a screaming rocket to the moon for the euro and the Swiss franc. So hopefully we can get out of any Swiss franc or euro trades we might have short before that happens. But it's certainly pushing at the moment. So big, strong extension. You're getting in on any time. I've got 2 positions on that, looking to get into a third. That will bring the average up nicely for an exit. Big targets to the downside still on this. So all we've had is kind of, it's not been bad, the price action on it, but you can see it's very obviously bullish at the moment. 4 hour. RSI is way off the charts, all the way up the highs. So we're up at the kind of 80 level, just touching now. So again, we'll be looking for a pullback move to start off of this level at some point. I've got a bit of a squeeze on that one. Yeah, but it's hugging this 24 beautifully. Look, the quarterly, the monthly moving average. So looking for a pullback at some point back into that monthly, quarterly moving average area. And then potentially still a continuation to the upside. So nice short opportunity there. Could well push further today. If it does, I will just drag my entry up. So reversal alert is there now. I'm going to leave that manually there. So basically on this M5 reversal alert, I'll be taking another position in. Just going to set a TP on this as well quickly. Average will jump up. Entry on that. Yeah, so just targeting a. Actually, that's M5. One sec. Put my TP down there. Right. So there's Euro CAD. Mohammed, may I know why I got this error in my MT4 journal? MQL market failed passing info about purchasing a product. Yeah, I don't know. You've done the right thing. You've emailed support about that. You've got a problem with your purchase. Can you look at Swiss yen? Already done Swiss yen. Roll back about 10 minutes. Euro CAD. Extended, embedded on the hourly. Look at this thing. So this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days solid up. Again, same sort of thing with this one. ADR on this is 88. That first day there, we had 89. That day there, we had 86. That day there, we had a little one, 72. That day there, 120. Friday, 100. So ADR hits 3 out of 5 days. Big, strong push. We've had a big push to the downside started this morning, and that has just undone the whole thing. So very, very similar to what happened on Friday. Sorry, yesterday, Monday. So I'm thinking it's Monday. I keep calling yesterday Friday. That big push down and then rejection back to the upside. We may well have another run today. So we'll see what happens with this one. But EuroCAD pushing quite hard at the moment. Nicely extended and embedded. 4 hour, huge extension. Look at that, 90 on the 4 hour RSI. We haven't been to 90 this year. So this is the highest, strongest push we've had on the EuroCAD all year. So big profit take move potentially coming on this one down to previous resistance. So where we are here, that weekly high. So big, strong push down into that weekly high. If we're going to continue market structure to the upside, that's where I would expect us to come down and test. I very much doubt that we're going to bounce around up here. We could do, you never know. But yeah, huge extension on that one. Got 1, 2, 3, 4 sales on now. Average is within an ADR. So again, just a case of waiting for that push back down to the downside. Viral Tube, I man torn your chart mod dark. Still don't know what you're talking about. Sorry, mate. I man torn your chart look dark, mod dark. I think you may have a translation problem there. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever. Are you asking if I can put my chart into a dark mode? Yes, I could probably do that, but I don't. I use light colored charts. So no. Euro Swiss. Big extension to the downside last week on the 4 hour. It's just starting to sort of go into an accumulation at the moment. Got multiple buys on this one. Again, ADR not too far away, 125 ADR. Big targets to the upside. Hourly, big, strong push down. Look at the strength of this. So the euro and the Swiss move in tandem a lot of the time, which is why you've got a low ADR. It's 36 ADR on this, yeah. So very low ADR pair because they move in tandem. Same as the euro, pound, etc., Aussie, New Zealand. So you can see by the strength of this candle, that is a massive strength move on the Swiss franc. So we've had a big, strong push in the last hour on that Swiss franc at the open of Frankfurt. So big move to the downside there. See what happens if we get down to ADR today, which is also yesterday's low. We may well find that we get a bounce off of that down there. But upside targets at the moment, still intact. We've got this big one down here, which is what we're really pressing towards. So when we get back down into here, that's when we're probably going to start undoing this move to the downside. So they're pushing down, building their book short. When we get down to here, that's where they'll probably start the profit take move and come back up and undo these ones up here. So again, big, strong extension to the downside. 4 hourly, we've come out of the extension. So there's you will find with things like the Euro Swiss, the Euro Pound, that the RSI extensions are a lot less frequent. As you can see here, you get long periods where we're just accumulating because these two move together. So it takes one of them to have a news event which is unique and just about them to actually get any strength in one direction or the other. Normally, it tends to be a safe haven run, which is what we tend to find is where the Swiss franc suddenly powers up or reduces power because money's flowing into it because they're putting it into the safe haven. So at the moment, extended a little bit last week on 4 hour. Hourly, we had same thing last week, last Tuesday that was. But as you can see, for the last 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days, we're not really. We're just down at the lows basically of the range. So, but looking to come down into this propulsion gap and then push back out of it from there. First day of my Forex funds account. Woohoo! Good one, David. Took the DAX pre-market 15-minute ORB down less than 0.5%. Took the gold sells, risking 1% and gained 2%. Nice one. Morning, Neo. Keep your risk small on your funded account. Just keep it. Don't forget, if you're risking 1% on a trade, and it goes against you 5 times on the trot. Sorry, I was watching Darren Brown last night. Have anybody seen that? The new Darren Brown thing? He's a hypnotist, for those of you who don't know. He's done a show, basically, where he gets a load of people up on the stage and he hypnotizes them so they've forgotten the number 7. So they can't have any recollection of anything between 6 and 8. So he basically gets them to count their fingers and they go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11. They've got 11 fingers. They can't figure it out. It's hilarious. So I was putting up saying the number 5 then with only 4 fingers. So obviously I've been hypnotized by Darren Brown by watching that program. Anyway, so yeah, if you have 5 losing trades in a row and you're risking 1%, that's 5% of your account gone. 1% is too much. Keep it lower. Euro pound. That's my advice. Really nice resistance level on this one. Multiple resistances there. We just tapped into it and bounced again. So this is the first, second, third, fourth hit, really, that we're just bouncing off of. Not extended on the hourly. Again, low ADR pair, 39 ADR. We had a nice H1 there, as you can see. So that was a trade taken last week on Friday. Straight in, H1, M5, bang, out, done. Very nice. But downside targets at the moment on this, nothing much to the upside. We have got these little bits up here. So if we get a push up to ADR today, that'd be a nice short. Otherwise, that's debatable whether that's actually filled. Look, actually, I would say that's probably done. It's within a couple of pips, isn't it, really? So downside targets, this tiny little one has been tested twice, probably done. So that is your downside target, I would say, ADR. And then you've got an upside target at ADR. So basically, taking ADR, reversal, M5, if we get one. Otherwise, that's not really doing anything or going anywhere sideways. Again, same thing as happens with the Euro Swiss most of the time. Euro Pound most of the time goes sideways because we're big trade partners, and what happens to one affects the other. So we tend to get dragged along with each other. This, I think, will start to, when the inflation figures come down and when we get our interest rates back down to normal, I think this will divert and the pound will become a lot less linked to the euro. But basically because of Brexit. But since Brexit, we've had COVID and everything, and it's just, we're stuck still at the moment in the same scenario as we were before. Most of the time we spend it range bound. So yeah, sideways, you don't tend to get a massive amount of alerts on euro pound because it doesn't move that much. But just sideways on that one at the minute. Euro yen. Again, that one's starting to play out short. Got 3 positions on this one. Loads of downside targets on it. So if you go back and look, yeah, whenever we get these strong pushes, RSI extension on US dollar CAD. So when we get these big, strong pushes against the yen, if they don't play out straight away, they do come back down and fill all these old propulsion gaps. They always get done. Yeah. Always come back to these propulsion gaps. Yeah. We've got these down here at the moment. These ones down here. These ones here. These ones here. These ones here. There's my average. There's all the targets. There's just so much room to the downside. So just a case of waiting for that yen strength to come through. If we get a 3.75 on Thursday next week for the euro. So if that comes out at 3.75, which I think is going to be the forecast for the euro rate, I think we might see a little bit of weakness start to crumble in to that euro, because the market at the moment seems to be factoring in the potential of a 3.5. If they don't get the 3.5, I think we might find that euro start to weaken for a couple of weeks while they undo those positions that they've kind of gambled on being a little bit stronger than expected. So that coupled with the fact that at any moment the yen could intervene and just tank, or tank everything against the yen. I think that's a really nice looking short, nicely extended on the hourly last week. Yesterday, 4 hourly. We have just come out of an extension, so dropping down onto M5, taking that reversal alert. That was a big one. Today, there was your entry today as a short. Double top basically on the Asian session. Coming down very nice. That's good. So all the yens, little bit of power this morning. So see if we can maintain it. The problem with the yen is we get these bursts and then it stops. So hopefully we'll actually get some continuation on that one today. Euro New Zealand, hourly RSI extension is bang in the middle. So we're completely sideways. We pushed up on Friday last week. Yesterday we went absolutely nowhere. Propulsion gap targets to the downside, lots of them. 4 hour is extended, just coming out. So there's an entry there. That was an hourly RSI extension, but your 4 hour RSI extension was actually the same space. So that's where you would have got in yesterday on that one, waiting for it to come back down and retest that 24.72 zone. It's in a lovely little uptrend at the moment, retesting the 24.72 area over and over and over and over again. Euro US dollar, very extended at the moment on the 4 hour. So we're just coming up. We got this push up above this monthly high, which is from 2 months ago. That was January, yeah. February, March, April. No, sorry, 3 months ago. So we just have some news coming. Bank of Japan, ECB, and the SMB, in consultations with the Fed, have jointly decided to revert the frequency of their 7-day operations from daily to once per week. Okay, not quite sure what that means, but apparently it's important. So we're putting in a lower high at the moment. So if this is going to be your peak formation high, which is taking that monthly out, there's our new low, there's our lower high, and our lower low should go in below that, which will bring us back down into the 24.72 zone. And if it wants to push from there, that's fine. We do need that US dollar strength, and it looks like we've got that at the moment because gold is coming down quite hard. So this is US dollar strength that we're seeing. So got short on that from yesterday. That's the 4-hour RSI extension. The hourly RSI extension, as you can see, was yesterday, which is why that trade went in there. And then we were looking to target ADR to the downside. And we've got these big ones down here as well. So again, US dollar strength. We keep getting it, and it keeps having good news, and it pushes. But as soon as we get bad news on the US, it undoes it twice the rate. So it's as if the market is just waiting for the Fed to say we're not increasing interest rates. So every bit of bad news, it really reacts badly to it, which is why we're just not finding the strength. We're getting too close to terminal rate, and Euro have just announced that they are expecting terminal rate to be where we are now for their inflation, and they're going to increase their interest rates by 0.25% to 0.5% again still. So I reckon this could well be the last Euro rate increase as well if that inflation continues to come down. So we've got all these currencies at the moment which are teetering on the edge of potential weakness, but they're all teetering on the edge of becoming weak at the same time. So again, more range bound activity potentially. There's nothing that's setting up to be a real strong contender for squeezing in one direction or the other. Everything is still sort of teetering on the sideways movement, isn't it? So that's Euro US dollar. Again, hourly RSI extension was yesterday. There's your entry, drop down M5. Your reversal alert was in there. And your H4 RSI extension was this morning. So you would have taken the 5-minute reversal alert there this morning if you're trading H4. You are in short. Okay, pounds. Alex, what RSI type are you using? In the EA, there is a drop-down menu with 7 different selections. So I use the median, personally. It doesn't make a massive difference. It does make a difference, but it doesn't make a massive difference. So obviously I can't select the RSI. So yeah, I mean, up to you what you want to use. I use median. The reason I use the median is closest to the RSI that's used in the TDI, which in the TDI is why I started using the RSI. So I've just always settled on the median. But if you look at the difference between the median and the close, the median is 75.94. The close is 76. There's hardly anything in it. The median and the close are the most commonly used. But not a huge amount. The median smooths it out a little bit more. That's all. But it really doesn't matter. It's the difference. You're going to get in the difference between a few pips. It really makes no difference whatsoever. Lower time frames, you'll find it'll make a massive difference. But we don't trade lower time. Well, I don't trade lower time frames, so doesn't really matter. Did I miss Aussie New Zealand? You did. Go back. Is your ADR based on daily pivot point levels? Nope, nothing to do with pivot points at all. ADR is the average daily range. Pivot points are just lines drawn at random. I don't know. I don't use pivot points now. You want to know about ADR? Go to the ADR page, which is here. And that video explains all about average daily range. And there's a link. So pound odd, starting on the pounds. RSI extension is nicely extended at the moment. I've got one short at the moment on the H1 M5. H4, you are also extended. So if you're trading H4 RSI extensions, you're also in on this. So we're just taking that high out at the moment. So one of two things is going to happen up here. We are either going to just do a liquidity run on these highs and then drop back down. Or we are going to rally. So, but we've got a very nice, big, strong multi-day push that we've had put in here. So we are really ready for some kind of profit take move on this. Whether they do it or not, obviously, is up to them. But yeah, so 2 solid days to the upside, reaching for that high. This propulsion move here, which started and broke that high and made that new market structure, is what they have tested multiple times now. Every time we get down into this area, they're buying it back up again. So it's basically just, it's very bullish. We can see it's very bullish. There's a lot more buying pressure on the pound at the moment. We've got this big propulsion gap to the downside here. The pound is holding up way better than I was expecting it to. Across the board, I was expecting the pound to be an awful lot weaker this year. But it's doing very, very well. The reason I was expecting it to be weak is because of the size of the inflation and the speed of the interest rate. So we have had the worst inflation worldwide in the G7. Our unemployment has been gradually creeping up and up and up. And the government, the Bank of England, has been very slow to increase interest rates. You know, we've been looking at the 0.25s instead of the 0.5s a lot of the time. And we've been lagging behind our main competitors. So I was expecting it to be weaker, but it's actually done a lot better than I was expecting. Financially for us in the UK, though, not good. But for the currency, doing well. So as you can see, it has been strong, but it hasn't been massively strong. We haven't had any huge parabolic moves to the upside on it. It's just been gradually squeezing other currencies out, especially the weaker currencies like the Australian. So at the moment, waiting for a profit take move on this one, very nicely extended to the upside. So we're just waiting for that pullback to start, and it will probably be either a flag or a pullback rather than a reversal. So ADR, Aussie dollar, Swiss francs going mental still. Aussie dollar's weak as well. Look. So this is a weak Australian dollar coupled with that Swiss franc. That's why we've got the ADR hit today on that one. Still pushing down. So yeah, these pounds basically, I would be looking more for short pullbacks and potential breaks to continue. But there's loads of propulsion gap targets to the downside. 175 ADR at some point, whether or not it comes down and does that and then tries for a new high, or whether it continues to push and then it comes back down there in a couple of weeks, we don't know. But obviously there are a lot of downside targets on it and there's a lot of profit take potential on it. So it's very nicely extended on the hourly. 4 hourly, again, very nicely extended. So looking for a profit take move. Drop down, M5, wait for the reversal alert. You're not in it already. I'm already in it from earlier this morning. Pound CAD. Are you still using the 21 on the RSI? No, it's the 14. RSI 14. Pound CAD. Big extension to the upside. Got shorts on this, as you can see. So hourly embedded. Got into this one back here. Expecting sort of a continuation, either short or a pullback before another leg up. What we got was basically 3 days of rallying. So scaling out of this gradually. 4 positions on now from this morning, and it's still going for it. Again, weakness in the Canadian dollar rather than anything else. So if you look at all the other pairs, this Canadian dollar, very, very, very weak at the moment. So we will get an undoing of this at some point. It's just a case of waiting. We need some US dollar news. We haven't got any CAD news really until Friday to help us out. So we need some good US dollar figures at some point this week to push this one and drive it back down again. So extended on the hourly, also extended on the 4 hourly. We're above the 80 level now there. So again, looking back historically, there's a flag. Other one there. Yeah. So we're going to get that pullback or flag, depending which it is, which is why we want to keep our average as much as possible within an ADR, because if we get a big strong push like this and all it does is do a flag break like that, it gives you that exit if you want it. Not that we generally take the exit at break even, because obviously when it gets back to break even, we're thinking, oh, it's going our way, and we hold on to it to get the profit, which we normally do get. But if you need to get out, if you're overexposed, if you keep it within an ADR, you'll have that exit opportunity. So nicely extended there on the 4 hour. Pound Swiss extended to the downside. Sorry, no, it's not. It was on the hourly, wasn't it? Just about to. So again, Swiss franc strength. You can see this one, obviously. It's a big old range bound thing at the minute. We're approaching lows of the range. So this old monthly low down here at 150 ADR is potentially where I would look for some bounce points. We're going to get some limit orders triggering down there. We're not quite extended on the 4 hour. We were extended on the 4 hour back here, which is why I've got these longs on. That's the hourly RSI extension that I initially took on this. And since then, it's just collapsed. The Canadian dollar's just been terrible. The Swiss franc's just been hugely, hugely strong. So hourly RSI extension is just coming back into play again. So if you wanted to take it, you've got an opportunity to get in tons and tons of profit targets to the upside on this. So just waiting for the Swiss franc to chill. And then basically get some movement back to the upside. This is Liz Truss going crazy. Bank of England bailing us out ever since they did that, as you can see. Not going anywhere. So we're heading down to the lows, range lows. We're either going to stay in that range or we're going to collapse back down very quick. And if we do collapse down very quick, you're going to need to get in and scale into it. So just be a little careful with your exposure on the Swiss franc. Pound yen, very extended. This one's coming down very nicely today. So looking at the 4 hour, we got a big extension on this last week. So you would have been out actually on that if you'd taken that last week. You had that entry there as well, which you probably wouldn't have got out of. Debatable whether you'd have got out of that. Oh no, it's an ADR. Yeah, so you'd have got out of that last week. You'd have got out of that one. So H4, you're kind of out of them basically. But the hourly one, what's this? Pound yen. Yeah, see, pound yen 4 hour mean reversion isn't in it on the pound yen. So it's got out of all those previous positions easily. So this is coming down very nicely at the moment. Yeah, slightly got extended. So that was the extension that would have got you into it last week on the Wednesday. If you were in on the previous ones like I was when it first got extended way back somewhere, you're still in this. So these yens have been very, very weak, starting to get some strength to come through now. We've had a few strong pushes on these yens. Haven't managed to get a big enough move at the moment to get out of them. So still waiting for that intervention or some kind of strength. So again, if that interest rate goes up on the yen, and we'll find out on Friday what the forward guidance is on that, we could have a big, 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 strong multi-week push coming through on the yen. So Friday this week is when we've got the monetary policy statement for the yen. That's when they're going to tell us what they're doing with interest rates, but they've hinted at a rise this week. So fingers crossed we get that yen strength, and then we can obviously get out of all those yen positions that you're in. 4 hour, not quite extended, but you can see we're coming up towards range highs. So you've got these older highs here, which are sort of 3 months ago. Those are up at 200 ADR. So if it does continue to push up to 200 ADR, you're going to find limit orders triggering up around this area somewhere. Then you've got that peak up there, which is miles away, but unlikely we'd get all the way up there in one go without getting some kind of profit take move back down again. So pound New Zealand, again, pound New Zealand just coming up into this high here. This is a really old one. That's from October last year. I'm not going to put them all on actually because there'd be too many lines. But yeah, so that is just under ADR. So we're very, very close to getting that level. You can't see that, can you? Just realized my big head's in the way. There you go. So we got this high, which is from October. So that is the most recent high that we're coming up to potentially now. And that high there is just under ADR. Yeah. So we are literally 60 pips away from it, half an ADR. So we will probably find we get a reaction there. Whether the reaction is strong enough to push us back down into the 24.72 and get that next bounce on that continuation up, we'll have to wait and see. But New Zealand is weakening a little bit at the moment. If you look at the news we've got coming up this week, we've got the CPI figures for the Aussie on Wednesday. So that is likely to make an impact on the New Zealand dollar. And then next week, we've got the Aussie dollar rates being announced on Tuesday as well. And again, that will have an impact on New Zealand dollar. So we have got news coming up that's potentially going to change the fundamentals for the New Zealand dollar as well. But yeah, waiting for a push back down, nicely extended on the 4 hour. If you're in that one already on the 4 hour, you only got into it just yesterday. And the hourly RSI extensions, you can see, first one I've got into was there on that extension. And it's basically just pushed up for 2 days since. So just waiting for it to come back down, back into that propulsion gap to exit. And pound US. So again, pound US is the same as all the other US. We've had some strength against the US dollar. Every RSI extension you've had on this thing within reason has kind of played out very, very quickly. Not extended at the moment on the 4 hour hourly. We have had an extension on it this morning, which got into a position short, which is in profit at the moment. Target will be 42. Target will be somewhere around previous day's high there. So at the minute, this is, as you can see, we've had these strong pushes up. So market structure on it is bullish at the moment. We've made this low, high, higher low, higher high, higher low. Potentially we're looking to make a higher high up here now. However, we've got all these propulsion gap targets to the downside. So we've got a strong US dollar at the moment. We know because we just saw gold was going down. This propulsion gap is almost filled there. So it's debatable whether or not they're going to come back up and do that first. But these down here, this big, strong push that we had here, which was 150. So almost 200 ADR push there. All this has not been tested for 3 weeks. So high probability of it coming back down to there, I think, next. But it may well want to come back up again and retest these highs and get that gap filled. So we'll see what happens. Really, it's all going to be determined by the news. If we get US dollar strength or weakness, it's going to drive it, obviously, whichever direction. So we've got a lot of US news coming up, a lot more than everything else. ADR on Euro Swiss, that Swiss franc really strong today. ADR on Euro Swiss, so again, pushing back down into these areas is what I would expect on that one. However, we are gradually making new highs here. And we're gradually making new highs here. So we are just continuing in this upward channel that we've had, but slowing. So we're going more into an accumulation, more into a range-bound situation. So wait and see what happens on that one. It was extended this morning, so you got short on that now. 4 hour flat, nothing to look at there. So there's your pounds. Euro CAD, already covered that one. It's kind of dragged my DD much. Yeah, it's seriously squeezing at the moment, so it will do. So this is why spacing is important. Don't get in too tight and you'll be fine. Just wait for the profit take move to get out. So if you've spaced in correctly on this and you've done drawdown control along the way, your average price is within average daily range. So all you're looking for is a 1 ADR hit to the downside and you're out. New Zealand's. Impulse. So question, the EA just scaled me out on Aussie dollar Swiss. Yep. Me too. But didn't put in another buy. No, because you haven't had a reversal alert yet, have you? It's the market reversal alert EA, clues in the name. It triggers when there is a market reversal alert. There hasn't been one this morning. It will get you in a minute when that reversal alert triggers, which it hasn't. So there's your reversal alert there. Look. When you break that high, you'll get a second position put on. If you don't understand what the EA is doing, you shouldn't be using it. That's not just my EA, that's any EA. You never put anything on your chart that you don't understand what it's doing. If you put something on your chart that is the gold scalper and just makes money out of gold, but you've no idea how it's doing, what the logic is, you shouldn't be using it because it can do absolutely anything, couldn't it? So you should understand that you should understand why that hasn't taken a trade for you, because there's not been a reversal alert this morning. If you don't, go and watch the videos on the website. So this page is the one you want to pay attention to. So the reason I've put all of these videos on the EA page, we've got two main videos on the EA page. This one shows you the main strategies that the EA is designed to trading in action, so you can understand the strategies. This one is 2.5 hours long. It goes through every single input in the EA, fully explaining the logic behind it, what it does, why it does it, how it works, etc. So this is by the time you've watched this video 2 or 3 times, because you won't get it all in the first one, you will understand exactly how to use the EA. These all explain what the market reversal alerts indicator does, which this is based on, why it does it, how it does it, some strategies to use, etc., etc. Right? So this explains market structure, market reversal alerts indicator, how that works, why it works. This trades on signals that produces. Yeah. So that page there, you need to watch all those videos in detail. New Zealand, we're up to, aren't we? David, I'm morning Potgator. Welcome back. I'm currently only taking hourly extensions on pairs that are going with the 4-hour trend. Feel much more comfortable that way. Even though I know the trend will eventually change, causing drawdown control. Yeah, that's fine. That's the trend. If you're trading with a trend, the only way that is detrimental is obviously when you look at something like the New Zealand dollar CAD. There is no trend. So if you've got something that's trending strong, like the euro odd, that is absolutely spot on. But obviously at some point, euro odd is going to stop trending, as you say. Yeah. Which is why we have the buyer scorecards to hopefully identify these pairs that are getting stronger and stronger, and we should be going, right, okay, we shouldn't really be selling the pound CAD at the moment. We should be buying it. And then you look at the pound CAD and go, oh, yeah. So, yeah. But, yeah, nothing wrong with that. I stopped trading with the trend. I didn't stop trading with it, but I find that the only time you get into any real trouble is when you get a squeeze caused by a fundamental shift. This helps you keep on top of what's going on with the fundamentals, and hopefully you can see those shifts starting to occur. So what tends to happen is you either get an unexpected interest rate rise or something, or an unexpected unemployment figure, which makes the thing go crazy. And then after that, you get something else, which means all it does is that before it gets its next bit of good news. And then it does that. And then there's another bit of good news. And before you know it, you've had 3 fundamental things which have made this currency way stronger than everything else. That's not happening at the moment, but it will do at some point. After that first one, you quite often find you have a decent pullback. And then that's when the alarm bells should really go, okay, I'm not too sure I want to be shorting the whatever. But there's no real way of telling. The trend will always give you an indication of how things are starting to strengthen. Like when you get a break there and then another lower low put in. So, you know, we're expecting, right, okay, we've broken that high. Excellent. We've pulled back. We've made a new high. Excellent. Looks like we're going bullish. Pull back, lower high, lower low. Okay, alarm bells. doesn't look like we are necessarily trending. Now we've had a little bit of a squeeze because the Canadian dollar's tanked. We are trending, but here didn't look like we were. It looked like we were potentially coming back down again to come and fill these propulsion gaps. And this is what I keep saying. No one can predict the future. Even when the fundamentals point in one direction, the market does what the market needs to do when it needs to do it. And it reacts very quickly to changes in market conditions. Oil prices tank, Canadian tanks. You can't tell when the oil prices are going to tank. So things like that just can't help you. And this is when you get these squeezes. But there's nothing you can do but sit through them, unfortunately, and deal with them. If the EA is set to alert mode, will it take trades? No, David, it won't. Again, that link I've just put in. Go and read, go and watch everything on that link I've just put in. You should know that if you watch those. I set disable to drawdown control. Why is it scaling me out? I don't know. I can't answer questions. Like there's 24,000 billion combinations of EA settings, right? I can't give you an answer to that because I have no idea how your EA is set up. So go into the Telegram group and dump your set file in there and we'll have a look at it. As long as you've got a unique magic number on every long and short, and you're not restarting your machine constantly, flipping between timeframes and instruments, and you've just set it up on a VPS, never touched it, let it do its job, you should be fine. But come in the Telegram group and stick your set file in there, we can have a look. Pound CAD, where are we? New Zealand CAD. So New Zealand dollar CAD, we had the 4-hour extension there, exited on there as well. So this is basically very, very choppy, as you can see. So big, strong push, 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 push. There's a lovely pair to trade at the moment, mainly because we've got a fairly weak New Zealand dollar started to kick in, and the Canadian's obviously gone weak as well. So this thing's pushing all over the place at the minute. But right now, not extended in either direction. Hourly, we are extended above the highs. So got a short on at the moment. Looking for these propulsion gaps down here to get filled. That's debatable whether that one's done. We've got targets to the upside, lots of them as well. So the oil, when oil comes down and fills that gap, assuming it does come and fill that gap, that's when we're going to get potentially a bounce on oil and some strength coming through on the Canadian dollar if we haven't had it already come through off of the back of US dollar news. So, New Zealand dollar CAD at the moment obviously is a short. We're up at a nice weekly high. We've got lots of resistance potentially coming up as well. Other levels which we've had in the past, which are going to act as potential resistance points. We've got propulsion gaps to the upside. So it does look like it could well push a lot more to the upside at the moment. But right now, it's been sort of in a downward move for the last month or so. So if you look at it on the 4-hour, and looking at the obviously trend starting, there's potential for that to happen. So, but yeah, right now it's a short, nice wicks to the upside there on the 4-hour look. So we're pushing up, bit of rejection, bit more rejection, bit more rejection. So it looks like it wants to just pop down into there. Half an ADR on this is 36 pips. So it's going to need to actually get a lot further down for me, but so yeah, New Zealand dollar CAD, nothing particularly exciting on it. There's an hourly RSI extension, which has only just got extended. Did you review Euro New Zealand? Yep, done that one. Go and look back. US dollar Swiss, haven't done yet. I'm going through in order. New Zealand dollar Swiss, tapped into last week's low, bounced, tapped into it again, bounced. Got 4 buys on this, sorry, at the moment. Propulsion gap targets to the upside galore. Average price is at 125 ADR. So looking for some kind of push up. Swiss franc, crazy straight, crazy strong, as we can see. So lots of scaling out on this one. On Friday, did quite a lot of scaling out on this just to control the drawdown. But yeah, this thing's squeezing very hard, this Swiss franc at the moment. So hourly RSI extensions, you've had loads of them. None of them have played out really at the moment. We've just had that extension to the downside, another extension, another extension, another extension, another extension. Still just pushing. So when you look at it then up on a higher time frame, you can see how strong the move's been. So that's what you'd be looking for. Push back into the 24.72 area for potentially a continuation leg to the downside. So we're in a nice downtrend at the moment on this one. New Zealand dollar Swiss, if you look at the buy scorecard on it, it's a sell. -5. So again, cop bias on this one is ever so slightly long, only ever so slightly long though. The fundamentals are all short for this one. At the moment, we've got retail, which are all longing it. So it's why it's pushing down quite hard at the moment. So you always find with the Swiss franc, especially when you get a big strong move on the Swiss franc, obviously everybody tries to mean revert the move and it just keeps going. The Swiss franc will just keep pumping and pumping as long as it wants to. So you find they'll be offside for quite a long time on it. Eventually they'll all give up and drop, and that's when they'll move it the other way. So at the moment, this has got potential to continue to push further to the downside, I think. There's 6 positions on this now. So this is getting towards what I would class as a squeeze. So for those of you that haven't been at a squeeze before, this is getting towards it. So somewhere when you start getting to 6 positions, usually you're sitting in somewhere around about the 3% drawdown. I don't know what this is at the moment. New Zealand dollar Swiss, 1.78. It's not in a lot at all, to be honest. CAD Swiss is the one that's actually worse because that's moved faster. But so yeah, I mean, it's in drawdown at the moment, obviously, and we're just waiting for that pullback. So big strong squeeze, big strong pullback. Yeah, we're just waiting for the move to come back, which will kick back to the 24 at some point. The further away you get extended from that 24 moving average, the more that snapback is likely to happen. So you find the further away you get and it continues to push down, the more likely that is to come. However, it's all based on fundamentals, obviously, as we know. So it depends on when they take their foot off the gas on the Swiss franc. The problem you got with the New Zealand dollar Swiss at the moment is there isn't a huge amount of power in the New Zealand. So if they take their foot off the gas with the Swissy, you've got quite a high probability of going into an accumulation or into a bit of a flag, which could then break again. So, but there's only a certain amount of power you can put into something before you have to undo that move, because they're all short at the moment. To be able to take profit on that move, they need to go long. So it will get a pullback. Just waiting. So nice extension on the 4-hour yesterday. Hourly RSIs, you've had obviously loads of opportunities on that one. So right now it's not extended anywhere though. New Zealand dollar yen, sideways. Totally sideways. Has been for 3 weeks now. You see it's very, very sideways. So this is the last big move on the yen. We haven't got back and haven't filled that. Most of them have now. So there is potential for this to push down further on this yen strength. So this may well be left in place for a substantial amount of time, because the fundamentals shifted here. And since then, we've had nothing but more slight weakness on the New Zealand dollar and sort of medium strength, so stroke sideways on the yen. So the yen hasn't been particularly strong, but it's getting to the point now where we're getting talk about there's going to be some either yen intervention coming and or interest rate rises, both bullish yen. So until that happens, obviously you can do what you like with it, really. But there was the extension there, exit. So you had a short there, exit. So been traded a couple of times, but not really going anywhere at the moment. This one sideways. So you can trade it in any direction, really, at the minute. Right now, no opportunities. New Zealand US, got long on this at the moment. 2 long positions on this one. Huge propulsion gap target there to come up, name for. That will be my exit, 125 ADR. So at the moment, that is not extended in either direction. You had a short on this potentially yesterday, not quite extended on the 75 for me, but 4-hour completely flat. Hasn't had any opportunities on this one since the 13th, a couple of weeks ago. So there was a short opportunity to get in there. So again, nothing really exciting going on there. US dollar CAD, we've got some strength on the US at the minute. Got shorts on this one. So yeah, US dollar CAD. So this is the big buy at the moment. So when you look at the buyer scorecard, US dollar CAD is a plus 10. So the fundamentals are all positive US, bearish CAD. Hot positioning is all long US, short CAD. Retail are all short US dollar CAD, meaning you should be longing it. So everything is pointing to you want to go long, basically. As you can see, it's been rallying, but overall, this thing is just sideways. Yeah, there is no fundamental bias playing out for the US dollar. And this is what I was talking about earlier. We've got a plus 10 on the bias scorecard. However, there is no signs of a plus 10 strength on the US dollar at the moment. It's just not able to get there. There's too many things affecting everything at the moment to do with the inflation and the interest rates. And the market is just in a flux because it doesn't know when they're going to stop putting these interest rates up. When we get to that point and we can see everything starting to come down on inflation, the market will turn back into its normal, something is dominant over something else. But at the moment, it's just not happening. We're seeing signs of it starting to happen now, but we're sideways. So bang in the middle of the range at the moment. Upside targets and downside targets in play. As you can see, that's what we do. We move from propulsion gap to propulsion gap. Yeah. So we just keep going up and down, up and down, up and down. At the moment, we can go either way. So right now, I've got a short on based on the RSI extension to the upside on the 4-hour and the hourly. If it continues to push up, obviously we'll scale in and wait for it to come back down and fill those gaps. So at the moment, it's a short. However, obviously with the Canadian dollar being so weak, it's pushing. So up to you if you want to take it, but waiting for that one to play out. US dollar Swiss, obviously you can see this is getting hammered by the Swiss franc. This just shows you how strong that Swiss franc has been. Look, the world's dominant currency being hammered by the Swiss franc. So there's just not any strength in it. Targets galore to the upside to aim for. Going to need some serious weakness in that Swiss franc for a prolonged period of time to actually get anywhere near them. But very extended to the downside on the 4-hour. Hourly, we had the extension yesterday. So got the long on, this morning. Got a long on the 5-minute reverse alert this morning. So yeah, first long position on that one on US dollar Swiss. Not extended on ADR, miles away from ADR. Levels wise, we've got last week's low, which we are just coming back to retest now. Propulsion gap targets to the upside. So again, in a downtrend, and 24.72, we are getting extended away from that. So we're looking for that pullback into the 24.72, which is what we tend to get all the time when we're in a downtrend. So just waiting for it to come back up and fill those propulsion gaps and do that push back to the upside. So dropping down M5, M15, you got your reverse alert to the upside. So yeah, at the moment just sideways really. After that reverse alert, pushed up, pushed back down again. I think we're going to test this low by the looks of things. See what happened to the DAX. Not quite got to that gap fill yet. Oh, it's a bit of a choppy one today as well. Look. It looks like the DAX coming back up to that gap fill. Not on that this morning. Haven't had a chance to set anything up this morning. US dollar yen sideways. 4-hour. We're not anywhere. Hourly, we're not anywhere. Yeah, so you can see we're just kind of sideways on this at the moment. We are ever so slightly in an upward channel. Downside targets, and you've got this big upside target in here, but really no strength in either direction on this one at the moment. The yen's pushing a fair bit. The US is pushing a fair bit. All we're getting is push, pull, push, pull, push, pull. So downside targets to aim for. So I prefer it short at the moment with a little bit of yen strength. When we get down to there, though, potentially pushing back up. So not really extended, not really any reason to get into the US dollar yen at the moment. But you've got an upside target at 225. You've got a downside target at 225. So right now you're bang in the middle. It's a 50-50 shot. No point in taking a trade. If we start to head down this way, start to go long. If we start to head up there, start to go short. There you go. That's everything covered. Dow. Did you review Euro New Zealand and US dollar Swiss? Yes, done those. Euro New Zealand, I'll quickly cover that one again. So a big strong push to the upside. Euro New Zealand got a short on at the moment. 4-hour RSI extension. Hourly, you had the RSI extension on Friday. So got one position on there from Friday. Hasn't really gone anywhere yesterday, so just got one position on from Friday short, looking for it to come back down and fill that propulsion gap. Also all the way down there. But Euro is strong at the moment. We've got Euro news, which is potentially next week. So the forecast on that will be 3.75 at the moment. We'll find out on Monday. But the forecast is going to be 3.75. If we get 3.75, I think we'll probably see a little bit of weakness potentially off the back of that, because I think the market is factoring in 4. Somewhere between those two. I think at the moment the market is factoring in, if you look at all the Euro pairs, if you flick through them all, yeah, you can see that we're bullish across the board, yeah, on all these Euro pairs, most of the Euro pairs. We're either sideways or bullish, aren't we? So you've got to say that the market is factoring in a good, strong interest rate rise at the moment. If we get the 4, I think what we'll probably find is we go a little bit stable, possibly a little bit stronger. If we get the 3.75, I think the market might have overshot a little bit on this, and we'll then start to come back down again. So we'll have to wait and see what happens with it. But there's lots of downside potential on all these Euros. But it's all news driven, so we need to wait for the news. Retail sentiment is bullish, New Zealand dollar Swiss, so you should be selling. New Zealand dollar Swiss. Yeah, so 97% of the market. Look at all these Swissies. Look. 97% across the board. Everything Swiss. They are longing it at the moment. US dollar Swiss, pound Swiss, euro Swiss. 86% to 97% of the market at the moment is longing this. Because what do we try to do as retail traders? Catch the falling knife. So they're continuously trying to catch this falling knife. As long as they're doing that, they're putting their stops under the lows. The market will just keep taking their stops until they stop putting their stops under the lows. Or the market just literally runs out of orders in one direction and they just have to start taking profit, and then they will start taking profit. So yeah, what you'll see, and look, you're seeing it right now. What you'll see is at the end of the run, you'll see an accumulation. Yeah, so when you get an accumulation, you then will tend to find we get a break of that accumulation to the upside, which gives you what? A market structure shift. That's when you start to get the profit take move. As soon as you get that shift in structure and everybody sees that shift in structure starting, they will start to take profit on their shorts by becoming buyers. As they become buyers, they add fuel to the flames and it drives the market higher. Yeah, so New Zealand dollar Swiss. We had an accumulation yesterday. We're accumulating today. We've just taken out last week's low. So if we now break above that high, you'll get a reversal alert, which shows you've had a shift in structure on the hourly. Then we wait for a pullback and drive higher up into this area here, and potentially all the way up there, or however long they need to go. Yeah, I mean, we don't know where it's going, do we? We've got no control. So it'll go where it goes. But right now it's looking like it is stalling out. But at the moment, all the liquidity from the last 2 days, yeah. So if you look at the sentiment, yeah, on the New Zealand dollar Swiss, 97% of the market is long New Zealand dollar Swiss. Let's look at the historical, the Swiss franc. We've got a few data glitches in there. Yeah, so New Zealand dollar Swiss, you can see they have been More than 75% long on this since the 6th of April. Back here. Yeah. So at that point there, funnily enough, when Mr. Retail went long, they 75% of the market decided to buy there. What's it done ever since? And as it's come down, more and more people have gone long, more and more people have gone long, more and more people have gone long. When we go long, we don't, because we know what we're doing. But when the market goes long, what do? They put their liquidity under the low. So it pushes up, entices people long, then it comes down and takes out those stops. Yeah. So all the stops that were sitting underneath these lows here, taken out. It pushes down, goes into an accumulation, entices people long. They put their stops under here, comes down, takes them out. Pushes up, entices everybody long, puts stops under there, takes them out. Push down, maybe entices the longs, probably. Yeah, accumulates for a day, pushes up again at the end of New York, liquidity taken. At some point, they will just go, we've got enough, and they'll go. And then any retail left in will be happy days, won't they? But this is what retail traders do. Go long, lose. Go long, lose. Go long, lose. Go long, lose. 4%. I am minus now because I risk 1% per trade, so I'm minus 4. Go long, excellent. I make it. Stop under the low, break above the high, I go long. What do I need now? A 4R. Well, 4R is going to be bigger than that, isn't it? Right, well, wrong way around. I always get my fib the wrong way around. Oh, no. Cancel stop loss. Yeah, so there's my trade. So I'm minus 4% because I've used a stop loss. I've lost 4% of my account trying to catch this falling knife on the way down. Now I finally get one that works and the market lets me have it. What have I got to do to get break even? I've got to get all the way back up to there in one trade and hold it for approximately 2 to 3 weeks, because that's probably how long it's going to take to get there. So at that one trade, I've got to be a very disciplined trader, hold this one trade for 3 or 4 weeks, maybe, however long it takes, up to a 4R, just to get my money back. What is the most likely thing that's going to happen in this scenario? You're going to go long here. It's going to push up. You're going to move your stop to break even because you've gone, phew, finally one that's gone my way. It's going to come down. It's going to take out your stop loss, and then it's going to go up and hit your 4R target, which would have only got you to break even. Wouldn't have made you any money, but you got stopped out. That made you cross. So you thought, screw it. The next time it pushes up, I'm going to go in with twice as much. And I'm going to go for a 3 to 1 because that gets me my money back. And what they'll do then is they'll stop you out on that one. You'll now be down 6%. Because you had a minus 4, you've doubled up, you've now lost 2% on that trade, and now you're 6% down because you tried to catch that falling knife. That is what retail traders do. Over and over and over again. Which is why the market moves up and down. Sound familiar? Retail, can you please analyze Aussie dollar Swiss? We're going right back to the beginning. I've just done all this. Aussie dollar Swiss massively extended on the hourly, 4 hourly RSI extended massively. So it's a long. I've got 2 positions on this one already. God, they seem a bit close together. No, it's 45 ADR. So that's a big drop actually, isn't it, at the moment? Yes, ADR obviously. 53 pips. So yeah, big drop. Nice extension. ADR hit today, so you could drop down to M5, look for that ADR, make that for reversal alert, which you just had there. So there was your reversal alert to go long at ADR. Is that not taking a trade? I think I've got a problem with my VPS. At 48. Oh, it's 1 pip out. That is literally 1 pip out on an entry. I'm going to take a manual there. So if you look at the spread, when we got that reversal alert, it's literally a pip out. I need to take a manual on this one as well. 1.29. So 1 sec. Seven. Take a quick buy there. That should have triggered. Well, I'd say it should have triggered. It shouldn't have triggered. It's done exactly what I've told it to do, which is not trigger less than an ADR apart. That is including spread. So I'm just going to put my TP manually on that position. Let's have a look where we're going to go. Targeting there. That'd be my exit. Needs to be bigger than that. I'm going to use that low there. That's my target on that one. Should be coming all the way back up here at some point, obviously, but right. Okay, that's all your Swiss. Thanks for making me look at that one. And gold. I did review gold, yes. It's shiny, it's yellow, it comes with crystals embedded in it at times as well, or diamonds. This one is diamond encrusted. So there you go. That's gold. Sorry if you've not been in here before. I don't trade gold. That's why everybody asks for it. So long at the moment up into this. Oh, that's filled actually. No, long up into that propulsion gap and that propulsion gap, which is 150 ADR. You've also got downside targets on this one, which is, funnily enough, roughly 150 ADR. Those are your options. I don't know which way it's going because it depends on what the US dollar does. So we're waiting on US dollar news. Impulse, yeah, that's what happened on yours. Yeah, it will do if you're using a similar set file. You know, the EA is great, but you're the trader. So, you know, you've got to keep on top of the trades, the positions that you've got on. That's your job, basically. So if you've set the EA up, as mine is at the moment, to take trades 1 ADR apart, and the measurement from there to when you get that reversal alert is just under 1 ADR by 0.1 of a pip, which in that case is 45 ADR. That was about a 46 distance, including the spread. The EA looked at it and went, we're not quite there, mate. We're 49.9. Won't take a trade. It's a dumb object. It's a blunt instrument. It's a robot. It goes, I have been told to take a trade at 46. I'm at 45.9. Therefore, I am not taking a trade. Whereas as a human being, you're looking at that going, that's perfect. Spot on reversal alert at ADR. RSI is extended, and it looks like I'm putting in some kind of hammer. Want to be long. But you have to do this manually at some stages. The EA is literally there to do as it's told. EuroCAD 4 hour. Yeah, EuroCAD 4 hour nicely extended. Massively extended, 90. So we looked at this one earlier. We haven't been up here for a long time. Yeah, we haven't been up here. Last time we were up here was in February 2024. Big, strong push, and then collapse. So yeah, big, strong push. Just waiting for a profit take move. But obviously, if you've scaled in correctly, you shouldn't have too much difficulty getting out. Just waiting, which is what we tend to spend our entire life doing in this job. Blue Trader, good morning from Lanzarote. Oh, I bet it's nice and hot over there. I've just been to Center Parks for the weekend because it was my wife's 50th. And it was lovely. We had hail, we had rain, we had cold. We had a couple of days of sun. I should have gone to Lanzarote. Right. So DAX this morning doesn't look like it's been fantastic. So your opening range breakout to the downside worked on your pre-market, but you also got stopped out on that. Your 5-minute opening range break had a break to the upside and the downside. Both look like they probably stopped out. It's just chopped today. Utter mess. Potentially going for the gap fill. So push. Euro, obviously, Euro tends to do the opposite to what the DAX is doing. DAX is having a little push at the moment. Euro's pushing back off those highs, but we'll see what happens today. But there's no news today, so we're just sitting waiting today for just normal price action. We've got consumer confidence this afternoon, which is just it really is hit and miss as to whether that actually gets any movement. The market decides whether or not it wants to move it, but we've got massive movement potentially off of the earnings this afternoon. So just be aware of all these earnings. Google is after market. So everything you see on here that is an AMC, this is happening after the market has closed. Everything here is happening before the market opens. These will get leaked out sometimes during the market. So what we've got really today is Spotify, Verizon, McDonald's. I mean, the food ones don't. FMCG doesn't tend to do a lot. GM, we've had pre-market. We would have known about that. Tesla's had a massive drop. We had the drop on the motor sector last week. 3M are stable as anything because they're in every sector under the sun. So there's nothing really there I can see that's going to make a massive amount of movement this afternoon. These are the guys which are going to move it. So tomorrow is more likely going to be the bigger day, I think. We've got ADP tomorrow as well. Lots more RSIs hit. So we got big extensions. Look at the Aussie dollar Swiss. Oh, okay. I've taken 2 on that. So the EA's taken 1 for me as well. Which was my manual, the 167 or the 168? Seven. Oh, should we do aggressive drawdown control on this? Is it big enough to do aggressive drawdown control? Only 3 positions. I'm going to put a stop loss back down. Actually, let's go $200. Do I want to risk $200? I'm going to make this an aggressive drawdown control position for no other reason than there's a lot of Swiss franc exposure on this account. So I'm just going to basically go for a target there on that second position because this is my manual position. This is the EA taking it for me automatically. Is that a tan? No, wait, it's a shadow. It's definitely a shadow, Steve. I went nowhere I could get a tan this weekend. Currently 80 in the south of Spain. Very nice. That gold chain. I got a bracelet that goes with it. If you want it, Bella. Either or. So that one normally sits over there. The bling. Happy big 5-0 for her. Yeah. It's my big 5-0 this year as well. Right. So Aussie dollar Swiss. So yeah, I'm going to keep that on as an aggressive drawdown control position. Why the hell not? quite sure why that took such a late position. There. It's that in a minute. Right. I'll leave you there. That's all I've got for you this morning. So loads of extensions, lots of stuff getting not so much squeezy. I mean, it's a bit squeezy at the moment, isn't it? But yeah, big movements obviously have big profit takes at the end of the day. So we're just waiting on a lot of this stuff, mainly the Canadian dollar and the Swiss franc. They're the two that have had the main big pushes. So we will get these start to play out. All these targets to the downside will all get filled. If ever you're in any kind of big drawdown, just go back historically and look at not necessarily the pair that you're in. Look at any pair really. Look at the propulsion gaps. So if you've got the new indicator, which gives you control over the colorings on the propulsion gaps, look at all the old propulsion gaps. Yeah. And look at all these propulsion gaps that were left in play, and then look at how far that moved down there. So we had a move from the top there down to the bottom there of about 518 pips. It then came up and did exactly what it always does, which is fill all of these propulsion gaps. Yeah. It just took, what, 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks to do it. Yeah. So if you're in this pound CAD now, in the opposite move here, yeah, it's going to come down and it's going to fill all these propulsion gaps because that's what price does. It returns to wherever the big move started. It's just a case of waiting. It could take 3-4 weeks in total for this thing to play out. So you just got to, go back in time. Look at these propulsion gaps. Yeah, got a couple of orphaned ones down here, but look at the vast majority of these propulsion gaps. Always getting filled. Swiss franc ones. Look at the Swiss franc pairs. Yeah. Big squeeze down. Got 2 orphan propulsion gaps at the top there. There's more. There's more. There's more. Came all the way back up. Filled virtually all of them. Missed those 2. Yeah. Left a massive propulsion gap in play there and there. Came up. Back. Filled that propulsion gap. This is the one we're on our way to do now. But look how long it takes. This one started 15th of March. It didn't get completed until the 21st of April. 4 weeks. Your position trades when you get into squeezes are usually 4 to 8 weeks to play out. So when you look at your P&L and you think, oh my God, this thing's never coming back, go and look at previous moves that are similar to the one that you're in at the moment. Just waiting for that move to start. And that's when you do your aggressive drawdown control if you need it. So if you've got anything on that's getting a little bit too out of control or you're feeling uncomfortable in it, look back at how the moves unfolded after the initial squeeze and when the profit take started, and just try and time your aggressive drawdown control. This one isn't in need of drawdown control, but as I've done a manual trade and the EA's taken one, basically that is an aggressive drawdown control position. So I'll put a stop on it because if it does do that, I don't want to go into drawdown on those, obviously. I'll take a 0.2% loss. What's 0.2%? Right, there you go. So I'll leave that there. I'll be back this afternoon at 2:20 for the New York session. I'll be back tomorrow morning, 7:50 usual time for London. If you've got anything you need, let me know in the Telegram group. I'm going to start working on the MT5 version of the other indicator today. I hate MT5 with a passion. Hopefully we get a better ORB on the NAS, yeah, as Outro's just said. Yeah, we should get, I mean, to be honest, the New York earnings fortnight for New York is usually pretty profitable. Volatile, but profitable. So, yeah, you should be all right. But we'll see this afternoon. We'll find out. But yeah, so I'm going to work on that MT5 version of the other indicator. There's a couple of little bugs on the indicator with labels I noticed cropping up. So I need to figure out why they're being displayed and see if I can get those fixed. But they're not impacting on anything really. So yeah, so there you go. I'll be back later. if not tomorrow morning. So have a good rest of your day. No news, so probably watching paint dry. Have fun. I will see you guys later on for the New York session. Have a good day.